Hey everybody, it's Bevin and I'm here with another episode of my very dusty web series, The Lesbian Tea Basket, where I rate and review tea and reclaim tea parties for lesbians. I'm your host Bevin. I'm so excited to be here. This is going to be my last video on this YouTube channel. I say that with like a rough promise that I can't promise I don't need to post something again on this YouTube channel, but I am starting a fresh page at Self-Care Party. It's kind of, I don't know, I wanted a rebrand that took me a little bit out of identity politics. Saying this, knowing that I have just proudly stuck to this Lesbian Tea Basket as the name for my web series about tea, because I love tea. I started this show out of my true deep lesbian need to catalog the tea that I was drinking and remind myself, did I like this tea? Because you've had this experience. I mean, go back to episode 1. You're going to see me probably 10 years ago. This is maybe a decade challenge. You're also going to see I'm looking great. But I don't know. I started because of the Celestial Seasonings box I bought of Sugar Cookie Sleigh Ride, and it was a shitty tea, and I was really mad about it. Just go. It was before I went to recovery and Al-Anon. I don't know. I had stronger opinions then. I still have very strong opinions about tea, though. So I just moved to the woods. I live in Washington State. I'm trying to figure out the right way to describe where I live. I want you to think of me like Santa Claus, like I live at the North Pole. And I'll say I already thought of this, and then Dolly Parton said the same thing about herself, and she is my greatest inspiration. So like Dolly Parton, I live in the North Pole. I just live really close to Canada on the Olympic Peninsula. If you know the Pacific Northwest, you probably know where that is. If you don't, it's a freaking magical fairyland. I'm literally living in a forest, having only lived in urban places, LA or New York, for 20 years of my life. And then before that, always suburban. Never ever lived in a beautiful forest fairyland. And I want to be that lesbian who lives in the woods that tells you about tea. So I'm resurrecting this web series because I'm also, I ran across all these zingers in my mom's house. She lives down the street. So I moved down the street from my mom. I live walking distance. It's a great life so far. A lot of great home-cooked meals. My mom's a great cook. Grateful for that. And Mom and Pat have a pantry like nobody else's, and they love a zinger. And they have so many zingers for me to sample and tell you about. I'm very excited about. Plus, when I moved, I really dug into. I have still an excellent tea collection. I forced myself to reduce my tea stash to 2 shoe boxes. And I think a regular person, a regular average American, the amount of tea they have in their house is probably a third of 1 shoebox. But this is me way paring down. I gave someone 3 big bags of tea. I just love tea and I love tasting it. So I want to share with you about tea. So this is my channel announcement that I'm moving over to Self-Care Party. So follow me there. Feel free to dig into the archives here. There's so much in my early artistic endeavors. I'm doing a lot with Fat Kid Dance Party these days, and I'm excited to post some kind of stretching video I'm producing this week over there. Anyway, I think it's going to be a bunch of lesbians using chairs to stretch, and that's the video for this week. I'm really excited about it. I'm getting to do these fun artistic projects just as part of my life. So here we are. Lesbian Tea Basket. Let me tell you about Black Cherry Berry. What an idea. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have bought this off the shelf. I don't really care about black cherries. And I was just curious. You know what I mean? It wasn't a flavor I would have tried, but because it was here, I was let me try this. And you know what? And I will say it's also not a zinger. I pointed this out as a zinger, and it's not. But it's I would say it's a zinger in the same genre as a zinger tea. I think a zinger tea has high notes of hibiscus, which is a really sour flavor. Celestial Seasonings I actually love. If you're going to talk about a major tea manufacturer in the mainstream, I think they're the best ones. In terms of supermarket tea, right? Celestial Seasonings, it's economically affordable, but their mixtures are actually herbally and medicinally right on for what they're trying to do with the teas. But all of their zingers have these really like strong hibiscus sort of sour flavors, and they're really a strong like mouth experience, which like I think for an evening tea, right? Like you're not getting caffeine out of this. Let's have it be a taste sensation. If you're just drinking a beverage for enjoyment, right? But what I think is just really true about this tea is it tastes like fruit punch as a tea, which I'm kind of into. Right? Like it's not sweet, although it could be sweetened. It's just like kind of a real sour, citrusy flavor. And a little, like you can kind of taste the cherry, but I just, you know what? I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm not going to hold back. I don't know who names their teas, but I think they're pretty mediocre at their job. Just some of the teas, like, and this is where Sugar Cookie Sleigh Ride was not the right name for that tea. You know what I mean? It's like they kind of, or maybe it's not a person, maybe it's a system. Maybe they're making teas to match flavors, but they're not necessarily matching the flavors. Like, you know what I mean? Is it what comes first, the name or the blend? For me, when I create a tea, it's like really from sometimes the name has changed after I blended a tea, but I usually start with a name or an idea for a tea, and then the name comes from the idea. Like, it's usually the plants that tell me what's in the tea. Like, I have, like, a recipe in my head, right? And then as I play with the flavor, that's when I name it. Or I have a few ideas for names floating in my consciousness at any point. And then if I, like, create a new tea, then I'm like, oh, yeah, this is what this tea is, right? Does that make sense? I don't know. I guess, but I'm a one-person operation. Celestial Seasonings is a giant conglomeration of tea makers out in Boulder, Colorado. It's where it's blended. What's in this box? Let's see. Hibiscus, I was right. Rose hips, also a good sour one. Rose hips is great. Rose hips and hibiscus are both good for vitamin C, which is a great idea this time of year. Like if you're drinking a winter beverage and you're surrounded by people's germs and not enough ventilation, get some vitamin C. Just like mainline that stuff all the time. Roasted chicory, a fave of mine. I can't even taste it in this. Roasted chicory is a nice, like, it's got almost a coffee flavor to it if you have enough of it. So it must not be much. Maybe it's for color. Blackberry leaves. Ooh, blackberry leaves are a powerhouse medicinally. Like, they have so much to offer you. They're really good for, like, lady parts, you know, or non-lady identified gender neutral parts that might maybe have ovaries. I don't know how to describe what you mean, but it's good for all of those things. It's also good for digestion. If you have IBS, blackberry leaves is a good thing to drink tea wise. I have IBS, that's why I know. Let's see. Hawthorn. Ooh, hawthorn's great. Natural black cherry flavor with other natural flavors. That's the cheating ingredient. That's why their flavors are so strong. Chamomile. Oh, that's totally good for you. Drink that at night. And sweet cherries. Actual sweet cherries in here. This is a delicious tea. You want this tea. Black cherry berry. And I don't even mean fruit punch in a cloying way. Like, think of it as like where it really does taste like plants, right? Plants made this thing. That's what you mean when you say tea, right? Like, technically, if it doesn't have caffeine, or if it's not the caffeinated tea leaf, that tea leaf thing, it's called tisane, not tea. And it's just plants. It's like herbs that you mix in hot water. Sometimes fruit, too. Fruit makes a great tea. Anyway, so it's a home run. I mean, I don't know that I would have called this black cherry berry, but it's a really good flavor. I think it could have had a creative name. You know what I mean? Like, they have some sort of, like, their mint, I think it's their mint magic or something like that. It's got a wizard on the box for Celestial Seasoning. That is a great mint tea. Like, for all commercial mint teas, that's my favorite. Other than mine. I have my own blend. But, you know, it's a great tea. So, another home run from Celestial Seasonings. Oh, you know what? I'm also going to change about the Lesbian Tea Basket is I have this rating system with labri, like, Labris, the famous thing that the Amazons would carry, the axe, right? Like, I used to do a ratings of 5 labri, which is like an awkward measurement, but just true to lesbian culture. And I identify, by the way, sexually as queer, so don't at me if I date a man someday. But like, because I'm like a 5.5 on the Kinsey scale, but I'm so culturally lesbian, and I have a lesbian mom. You know what I mean? Like, I have like deep cultural time as a lesbian. So I'm just going to keep this lesbian tea basket because I also just like culturally think lesbianism is a thing. I know a lot of people who are culturally lesbian who, of all the genders, including born male, still identify male people who are like very into lesbian culture. And like, I think we preserve by expanding who gets to know and talk about lesbianism. So that's why I'm still like planting my flag as the lesbian tea basket. But, I will have more lesbian content, more queer tea content. This is where we're just going to make it happen under the umbrella of Self-Care Party, because we are going to talk and do so much cool self-care over there. Not just tea, but all the things. So wherever you are, drink a cup of tea, use it as a ritual, feel get your warm hands, like really be present in your body for that, and just like take really like mindful breaths, like in and out, just a mindful breath here and there. You can do the whole time, like definite extra credit if you spend your whole tea thing that like is a full 11-minute meditation. That's some power. But even one breath is a helpful way to align and to calm and to center. So you deserve that. You deserve a centering practice. You deserve healing. You deserve to be healthy and whole. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can find me on most things at Bevin's Party, or really on Instagram. You can join my email list. Best way to keep track of me. 100% best. I work hard to curate a good email. You know what I mean? It's like quick, to the point. It's got all the info you need. And it may be linked to a fun like podcast episode or something that like will be your next venture. You know what I mean? I like to give people bonus content that they can leapfrog onto if you're really into an internet binge. You know what I mean? I like following people around the internet. Anyway, I talk about things like this with my friend Megan Tonjes on my next podcast episode, which is coming out always on Thursday night into Friday morning. So like, I basically like get it done Thursday, and the goal is to have it published by commute time East Coast on Friday, which means I have till about like whenever o'clock in the morning to get it done, but I always get it done. I found having a strong deadline for my podcast is working really well. So I'm working on my Megan Tonjes episode this week. She is a singer-songwriter friend of mine. She gave me 2 of her songs to play on the podcast, which I'm very excited to. I love our conversation, and if you love Scorpios, and if you are a water sign especially, she is someone you want to know, because she just like can help show you what's possible. Anyway, love you, bye.